Witness, state your name and occupation for the court, please.
Of course, my name is Satoru Hosonaga. I am the head waiter at the Western-styled restaurant called La Carnival.
Are you alright? Seem to be coughing up some,
It's a regular occurrence. It really doesn't bother me.
Well, it really should. As everyone knows, the capital's southeastern quarter was developed for foreign visitors some years ago. It's become a very fashionable district now, full of hotels and to accommodate overseas guests. This grim crime occurred in one of the district's so-called restaurants, an Occidental eatery, 3 days ago.
Understood. Hosonaga-san, you will kindly tell the court everything you can about the incident.
At once, sir.
And no petty interjections from the aspiring lawyer boy, please. Oh, perspiring maybe, but aspiring?
It was just after 2 p.m. on the day in question. We have a few diners at that time of day. The lunchtime rush was over, and there were only 3 tables still occupied.
That fits in with my memory of it too. There was hardly anyone else in the place.
It was when I was in the kitchen, putting away crockery and cutlery. A gunshot rang out, so I hurried out to the dining area to see what had happened. I found the victim, an English gentleman, slumped in his chair. And standing immediately beside him, gun in hand, was the accused university student.
Yes!
Hold on! Let me just clarify something here. While I did pick up the gun that I found lying on the floor beside the professor, I didn't shoot him.
Objection!
I believe I asked you to refrain from your petty interjections. The court wishes to listen to the witness's report of what he saw, you amateur. But...
The next time you interrupt in an inappropriate time, you will be penalized, Defendant Naruhodo. Don't worry, Ryunosuke. You'll have your chance to fight back. For now, we must just quietly listen to the witness.
If I may confirm one point, waiter. Standing beside the victim with a gun in his hand was the same man we see here in court today.
Yes, without question.
I see. And apart from the accused, was there anyone else standing beside the victim?
No. There was no one else around that table but the deceased Englishman and the university student.
Huh? Wait, what did he just say? There was no one else around that table?
What's the matter, Ryunosuke?
That's just not right. When I went over to the Dr. Wilson to say hello, there was a woman sitting opposite him at his table.
Really?
And that's not something the waiter could have missed. I've been warned about interjecting, but still, what should I do?
Yes!
Just a moment, please. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone that day. I'm sure of it. There was a lady sitting with him at the same table.
Objection!
Dear me, dear me. What are we going to do with you? With your blatant disregard for court proceedings, I'm beginning to wonder if you're not a fraud. Could it be that the accused, this mere student, is not a real lawyer after all?
But I'm sure of what I saw.
Hosunaga-san, is there any chance you're mistaken? Perhaps your memory of the events is hazy.
No. The deceased gentleman came to dine alone. I don't believe it. I actually have a rough plan of the restaurant as it was that day. Please, have a look if you'd like.
Let me see. Ah, a sketch of the establishment's layout. Drawn by yourself, I presume.
That's right. I'm afraid I used the back of my business card. It was a turbulent situation. However, as you can see, the gentleman in question was seated alone.
Well, you're clearly a very conscientious waiter.
Thank you, sir.
The court will take this plan and add it to the court record as evidence.
Oh, well...
Is there a problem? Hand the plan to the court officer at once.
Of course. Here you are.
What was that about? He's completely calm and collected until now.
Something certainly seems to have shaken him.
So, the court has now heard a précis of the case.
Yes, at the moment the gunshot was heard in the restaurant. The only person in close proximity to the victim was the defendant on trial today. It would seem we are looking at a black and white case here. Defendant Naruhodo.
Yes, Your Excellency?
If you admit your guilt at this stage, the court is willing to look mercilessly upon you.
In other words, you may have some small reprieve in terms of your inevitable punishment. I called this waiter as an unsworn witness in order to explain the details of the case to the court. But I must warn the defense, if you are determined to pursue matters further in this trial. The prosecution has decisive evidence from sworn witnesses who were present at the scene of the crime.
What do you think I should do, Kazuma?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm going to be found guilty on one way or another, it seems. Wouldn't it be sensible to plead guilty at this stage and hope for a more lenient sentence? Everyone keeps telling me that this trial is unusual, about these peculiarities. You've said it, Professor Mikotoba said it, and so has the judge and the prosecution. I'm scared of what lies ahead if I push this.
As I said from the outset, I believe you're innocent. I trust you. And yet, despite knowing that, you're willing now to throw that trust back in my face? Is that it?
What?
If the accused is in fact innocent, then a defense lawyer is a duty bound to prove their innocence by whatever means necessary. Are you just going to abandon that duty? Are you going to give up on yourself? The battle hasn't even begun yet, Ryonosuke. The defense pleads not guilty, Your Excellency. We invite the prosecution to stop making empty threats and bring out its witnesses. Then we'll see just how decisive this evidence really is. Indeed. Prosecutor Aochi, please continue with proceedings.
Tisk. Well, you were warned. The young can be so reckless. You know, many call me a saint, but I can be the devil when I want to be. Ugh. In a few short moments from now, that dumbstruck youth mouth of yours will be silenced forever. The prosecution calls its next witness.
Very well. Officer, bring forth the witness at once.
Witnesses, kindly state your names and occupations for the court.
Yes, sir! The Great Nippon Imperial Army's Sergeant Isanosa, reporting for duty, sir!
Myself, I find employ as a purveyor of fine articles of antiquity from the efflorescence of our nation, Nippon, and conduct my trade from Rasute, a humble premises in the 2nd District, Kurio Korakuta, at your service. An antique dealer and a soldier? What an unusual pairing.
Both of these gentlemen were present at the restaurant on the day in question.
They must be the diners at the other table that the waiter mentioned. Myself, I habitually take tea of the most exquisite aroma at the establishment in question, always post-noon. And not infrequently converse with interested parties regarding the curios with which I make my business.
I can't understand a word that old man is saying.
Me neither.
He's an antique dealer, and it sounds like he's a regular at La Carnival. He seeks out potential customers who may have an interest in antiques and tries to sell his wares to them. He obviously targets La Carnival because it's a high-class restaurant with rich clientele.
Right, I see. Although, to be honest, that sergeant looks more like he'd be a seller rather than a buyer.
Now, you both witnessed the precise moment of this most atrocious incident. Is that correct?
Affirmative! The enemy unit was seen attacking the foreigner in what can only be described as an act of war, sir! It was that black uniformed rogue infantryman over there who unloaded his firearm, sir! This man's in it as impossible to understand as the other. But I'm almost sure I heard a strange noise during that last thing he said.
So, this is the decisive evidence the prosecution was threatening. The soldier is claiming that he actually saw the precise moment you shot the victim dead.
Yes.
Well, are you starting to feel uncomfortable?
If I'm honest, I was feeling uncomfortable from the start.
Now, the court will hear your formal testimony, please. You will state everything you saw at the precise moment that the incident occurred.
Sir, yes, sir! Standing by, ready to report, sir!
Unsavory memories of a most acerbic afternoon.
I was ingesting a regulation beefsteak at the restaurant while having a tactical discussion with the old man.
Myself, I was extolling the virtues of a particularly fine golden curio to the military gentleman.
At that precise moment, a firearm was discharged. I observed the enemy's actions with my own eyes. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English civilian, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel.
I was on my hands and knees, investigating the whereabouts of my mysteriously absconded precarious curio. Well, so you, Sergeant Nosa, actually witnessed the vital moment. You saw the split second when the defendant fired the weapon at the victim.
Yes, sir. Affirmative, sir. That wicked university cadet, sir. The cruel and unforgivable enemy.
What times we live in, when an English gentleman may be assailed in the broad light of day.
But this is ridiculous. I didn't shoot anyone.
Is that really true, Ryunosuke?
Yes. All I did was pick up the gun that I saw lying on the floor. After I'd said hello to Dr. Wilson, I went back to my table and sat drinking some coffee. Then, when I'd finished, I got up from my seat to leave the restaurant, when I noticed an English-made gun next to the chair where the professor was sitting. I thought perhaps the professor had dropped it. So I bent down, and just as I was picking it up,
Well, if that's the truth, there was obviously a criminal on the scene somewhere. And somewhere in these two witnesses' testimonies, there's a clue as to who that criminal was.
there is?
Ryunosuke, you must exercise your right to cross-examine the witnesses.
Cross-examine?
Do it now!
As we have heard, Your Excellency, there is no room for doubt in the testimony of these witnesses. The defendant is clearly guilty. It is time to bring this despicable student to justice.
Certainly. The testimony the court has just heard eliminates any vestige of doubt. Therefore, it is my grave duty to declare the verdict.
Yes!
What in the name of the Emperor is the meaning of this outburst?
The defense demands its right to cross-examination.
Dear me, dear me. Let me guess. The Hachimaki headband boy next door told me to do it. How pathetic.
Huh? How did he know?
The prosecution objects. This is a clear waste of time. The defendant obviously has no experience. How can he possibly carry out a cross-examination?
Objection!
The defense is asserting its right to a cross-examination. Whether or not you think he's capable of it is irrelevant.
Gulp.
Kazuma is so commanding.
Very well. Let the defense conduct a cross-examination of the witnesses. All right, this is where the battle really begins, Ryunosuke.
But I don't even know what I have to do in a cross-examination.
Isn't it obvious? You have to expose the lies in the witnesses' statements.
How?
You didn't fire the gun, which means what the soldier said has to be a lie.
Well, yes, but
It's just a case of proving it. and the key to do that is evidence.
Right. Evidence.
All you need to do is present some decisive and indisputable evidence that proves the witness is lying. Now, let's go, Ryunosuke! Don't let them beat you!
All right then. It's all or nothing. I was ingesting a regulation beefsteak at the restaurant while having a tactical discussion with the old man.
Yes!
Why aren't you saying anything? Is this some new interrogation technique? I hadn't actually thought of what I wanted to ask.
Just ask about anything that catches your attention. Anything that bothers you.
All right then. This beefsteak you mentioned. What kind of food is that? Attention! Beefsteak is a delicious cut of veal, vigorously cooked on a cast iron grill and served piping hot. Oh. If food could receive medals of honor, beefsteak would be almost as highly decorated as a cutlet. Right, I see. Thank you, sir. So, next question. This cutlet you mentioned, what kind of food is that? Attention! Ah! Cutlet is a delicious cut of veal tossed in breadcrumbs and deep fried in cooking oil. Accept your guilty verdict, atone for your crimes, and when you're released from prison, try it! Yes, sir, I will, sir. On the double, sir.
Sorry to interrupt, but how about you trying to stick to questions that are relevant to the case?
Oops, sorry. I'll do my best. So, next question. Is it just me, or do you keep hearing a sort of wah crying sound? Negative! Well, at least we've learned that he's a big beef lover.
Affirmative.
It's not easy knowing what questions to ask.
Myself, I was extolling the virtues of a particularly fine golden curio to the military gentleman.
Yes!
I have no idea what you're talking about.
A Kobin, boy.
A Kobin? You mean an old Edo coin?
The day prior to the incident, a treasure of exceptional value from the Hoei period entered my possession. I took myself to the restaurant the following day with said item secreted in my bosom pocket, in the hope of an affluent cognoscente appraised of its indisputable value being present.
So, you were hoping to sell your Koban coin? To Sergeant Nosa, whom you met at the restaurant.
Yes, it's quite clear where you're going with this, boy. You were about to assert that the penniless soldier would have no hope of purchasing a precious koban. Isn't that so?
Well...
You little upstart cadet! You want to add disrespecting a superior officer to your list of crimes, do you? Blatant subordination!
No, I didn't say anything. Although, penniless might be just the word I was looking for.
In any case, the hour was already advanced beyond that of the midday luncheon. There remained precious few present with whom I could engage in discourse about matters of business. The gentleman inside me who was grappling with his braised veal at the time, was my sole prospect.
I see.
At that precise moment, a firearm was discharged. I observed the enemy actions with my own eyes.
Yes!
So, you're saying that you actually saw me at the time?
Affirmative! I saw you! Laughing, cackling, like a madman as you trained the barrel of your gun on the English civilian.
But that's impossible! I only...
Allow me to confirm just one point, please.
What's that, Private?
Thinking carefully about the statement you just made, it seems to me that it must have been just after you heard the gunshot that you looked over to the victim's table.
And so what if it was?
Well, if that really is the case, it would mean that you didn't in fact see the precise moment when the killer actually fired the gun.
And double. My sixth sense.
Sorry?
My sixth sense of danger. I picked up on the waves of the murderous energy radiating from your foul mind. Which means, a split second before you pulled the trigger, I was looking right at you, cadet.
Surely that's not really possible, is it?
Do you think I'd have got where I am today in the Army if I couldn't sense danger in the air, son?
Well, it would seem this soldier is absolutely convinced that he saw you do the deed.
This is not good.
The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English civilian, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel.
Yes!
So this black uniformed university cadet, you're saying that he was...
I've had just about enough of your sauce, cadet. Who else do you see around here in black uniform,
Well, there's someone standing right next to me who fits the description as well, but...
It was you, you little weasel. You unloaded the firearm on that man. From behind his back. And you call yourself a civilian of the great empire of Nippon? You disgust me.
What is it, Ryunosuke?
I'm not quite sure. It's something that the sergeant just said, but I can't put my finger on it. Something's playing on my mind.
In that case, check back over the details of the evidence you've gathered in the court record. And if you find an inconsistency there with what the witness just said, then don't hold back. Present the evidence to the court, thrust it in the witness's face, and make him choke on it. I was on my hands and knees investigating the whereabouts of my mysteriously absconded precarious curio.
Yes!
On your hands and knees? Could you explain that, please?
That's right. Spurning the arthritis I was, in order to retrieve the lost piece. What lost piece are you referring to? The Koban, of course! The exquisite Hoei-era Koban coin! I had just been showing the rare treasure to the military man as he masticated his meal. After averting my eyes for the briefest of moments, it was there no more. It simply vanished.
The Koban vanished.
Hence, I began to acquaint myself with the intricacies of the floor in order to locate it And then it happened. You heard the gunshot, you mean? None other than, though it was no concern of mine. I was frantically scouring the floor for the aforementioned lost treasure.
So, in fact, you didn't actually witness the precise moment when the incident occurred?
Indeed. Myself, I did not.
I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here.
Listen, Ryunosuke. We know there are lies lurking in these statements. It's time to expose them.
I understand that. The question is, how?
Like I said before, the key to this is using evidence that you've collected. You can examine and present evidence while a witness is giving testimony by pressing E. Go through each witness's statement and the details about each piece of evidence and compare all the facts. Somewhere in there, you'll find something that doesn't add up. In other words, an inconsistency.
An inconsistency.
When you find a statement and a piece of evidence that seem to contradict each other, present your evidence with R and rip the witness apart. Just be careful, because if you assert a contradiction that has no basis, you'll be given a penalty. If you're dealt too many penalties, the defense's case will fall apart and you'll receive a guilty verdict. So that's it. Peruse the evidence in the court record and find an inconsistency with a witness's statement.
All right, I'll give it a try.
You can hear the witness's statements over and over again as many times as you like. So, keep your head and be measured in your attack. Good luck, partner.